we've all known for many years that wait staff and bartenders they either make like an hourly wage that's not very high, or they make a shift pay, and the shift pay is like $60. And then, they take out money for taxes and everything else. You end up making like, maybe $35 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
So we all know that bars, bartenders, waiters, waitresses, they all survive on tips.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't know that by now, you probably shouldn't go out to eat. But this girl on TikTok got on there and she really wanted to drive home the point. She showed us her check, and she was showing us specifically that she had worked 70 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And here's what her check showed.
I worked almost 71 hours. I get paid $2.13 an hour as a bartender and a server. I should have made $150.81, but because I have to have Social Security, Medicare, and the income tax taken out, I was paid $9.28 for 70 hours of work.
I used to bartend at this Mexican restaurant that was like a real night spot in Greenwich Village back in the day. Not even back in the day, just a couple of years. It's still around, still does very well. I would make between, I would say like $175 to $225 a night in tips.
Mm-hmm.
A night. That's a night. And I would work like 4 nights. So let's just say, let's average it to $200. So that's $600 just in tips. I always reported everything I made because I was afraid of the government. You know what I mean? But a lot of bartenders don't. They don't report all that.
I made
they report
$6 all week.
No, they report some of it, but not all of it.
Right.
Just because. But I always reported everything I made. And also because the restaurant knew what we made because they would count out our tips with us. So I didn't want to take any chances. But so I had $600 in tips, $600 a week for 4 nights working. And I'd make like another $25 a week from the restaurant in my paycheck.
Right.
So when they say you're making $2.13 an hour, you're making tips. That doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. You walk into some of those, like some of the steakhouses, you ever see those waiters in there? They're like 75 years old. Mm-hmm. The reason they're still there is because it's a union. They can't get fired, and they're making a fortune.
Yeah, can you imagine how much like somebody at Nobu is getting paid?
Right, that's a really good example. So if you work in a really expensive restaurant, the bill is higher.
Right.
That means your tip is more, even if you just do the minimum amount of work. If I wait on 4 people in a diner and I bring them each an entree and a dessert, and I wait on 4 people in Nobu or Ruth's Chris, and I bring them an entree and dessert, the bill is going to be very, very different in those 2 places. And you get tipped according to the bill, not according to your service.
Mm.
I give just as good service in a diner as I do in a high-end restaurant.
But I think it's different at Nobu because at the diner, you really are only dealing with one waiter or waitress. At Nobu, there's probably 4 that come to your table, bring your food, bring dessert. There's different people that you got to split that amongst, but they're still getting paid very well.
No, that's a good point. Right. There's a food runner. There's somebody that does the drinks. There's the person who wheels out the desserts. There's the hostess. Mm-hmm. There's the bartender. So there are more people at Nobu. You're right about that. And then if you're into wine, the sommelier comes over and talks to you about all the pretty little wines.
But a table of 4 is going to be $600-$700, so they're making money off of that.
Right, but the waiter is doing a great job at both places. So if you have a great waitress at a diner, she's still maybe going to make a $5, $10 tip. If you have a great waitress at Nobu, she's making $60 to $80.
Mm-hmm. The best waitress I've ever had is at Denny's. I had a waitress
Really?
At Denny's about a year ago, and she was so good that I would go back just for the service because the food, give or
It's
take.
Denny's.
It's
Right.
Denny's. But the waitress was that good that I would go back.
How come she was so good? She know your name? No, she probably didn't know your name because you hate that.
I would hate that even. I don't know what made her good. She stands out to me as being a very good waitress and, attentive and on it and everything. So I would
That's the kind of thing you should let Denny's know. You should let the manager know. If you really like a waitress at any restaurant that you go to, if you let the manager know, then they could potentially make more money by you saying that because they realize you're coming in for that person, not for the food.
I did tell the manager on the way out that I really enjoy the waitress. incredible. Strippers, they're very nice to you when you go. You're like you're like the only person that exists at a strip club. That's what's great. They really like me, and they know my name. Oh, wait. Are we live?
Yeah, because you don't pay them for that at all.
No, I don't.
How's that work? So you give them money and then they pay out to the strip club, or like how's the strip club make money? You have to pay a fee to get in?
It's been so long since I've been, but
Well, you've read a lot about it.
I've read a lot. So you pay
your research.
You pay a fee when you go in, and then if you work for a record company, this is what I've heard from different people. If you work for a record company, then you go and you put your credit card down, and they give you funny money. So
it's like Cole's Cash.
Yeah, exactly. So you get $500 of Kohl's Cash, and you just pile it on the table, and so they're like birds. They sense all the feed on the table, and they just crowd around, and that's how that works.
I see. Okay. Thank you very much for explaining that to me in case I ever find myself at a strip club on either end of the pole.